Black Cat. For the most wild yet most homely narrative which I am about to pen, I neither expect nor solicit belief. Mad indeed would I be to expect it, in a case where my very senses reject their own evidence, yet mad am I not, and very surely do I not dream, but tomorrow I die, and today I would unburden my soul. My immediate purpose is to find my immediate purpose is to place before the world plainly, succinctly, and without comment a series of mere household events and their consequences. These events have terrified, have tortured, have destroyed me, yet I will not attempt to expound them. To me they have presented little but horror. To many they will seem little terrible than baroquests. Hereafter perhaps some intellect may be found which will reduce my fantasism to the commonplace, some intellect more calm, more logical, and far less excitable than my own, which will perceive in the circumstances I detail with awe nothing more than an ordinary succession of very natural cause and effects. From my infancy I was noted for the docility and the humanity of my disposition. My tenderness of heart was even so conspicuous as to make me the jest of my companions, as I was especially fond of animals, and was indulged by my parents with great variety of pets. With these I spent most of my time, and never was so happy as to feeding and caressing them. This peculiarity of my character grew with my growth, and in my manhood I derive from it one of my principal sources of pleasure. To those who have cherished an affection for a faithful and sagacious dog, I need hardly to be hey, say hi, Jimmy. A furry friend. To those who have a cherished an affection for a faithful and sagacious dog, I need hardly be at the trouble of explaining the nature or the intensity of the gratification thus derivable. There is something in the unselfish and self-sacrificing love of a brute which goes directly to the heart of him who has a frequent occasion to the test of paltry friendship and gossamer fidelity of mere man. I married early and was happy to find in my wife a disposition not uncongenial with my own. Observing my partiality for domestic pets, she lost no opportunity of procuring those of the most agreeable kind. We had birds, goldfish, a fine dog, rabbits, and a small monkey, and a cat. This latter was a remarkably large and beautiful animal, entirely black and sagacious to man, was an astonishing degree. In speaking of his intelligence, my wife, who at heart was not a little tinctured with superstition, made frequent allusions to the ancient popular notion with regard all black cats as witches in disguise. Not that she was ever serious upon this point, and I mention the matter at all for no better reason than that it happens just now to be remembered. Pluto, this was the cat's name, was my favorite pet and playmate. I alone fed him, and he attended me wherever I went about the house. It was even with difficulty that I could prevent him from following me through the streets. Our friendship lasted in this manner for several years, during which my general temperament and character, through the instrumentality of the field impermanence, had, I blush to confess it, experienced a radically alteration for the worst. I grew day by day more moody, more irritable, more regardless of the feelings of others. I suffered myself to use the temperament language to my wife. At length I even offered her personal violence. My pets, of course, were made to feel the change in my disposition, I not only neglected but ill-used them. For Pluto, however, I still retained sufficient regard to restrain from maltreating him, as I made no scruple of maltreating the rabbits, the monkey, or even the dog when by accident, or for what disease is like alcohol, and at length even Pluto was now becoming old and consequently somewhat peevish. Even Pluto began to experience the effects of my ill temper. One night, returning home more intoxicated from one of my haunts about town, I fancied that the cat avoided my presence. I seized him, when, in his fright at my violence, he inflicted a slight wound upon my hand with his teeth. The fury of a demon instantly possessed me. I knew myself no longer. My original soul seemed at once to take flight from my body, and more than fiendish malevolence, gin nurtured, thrilled every fibre of my frame. I took from my waistcoated pocket a penco, opened it, grasped the poor beast by the throat, and deliberately cut one of its eyes from the socket. I blush, I burn, I shudder, while I pen the damnable atrocity. When reason returned with the morning, when I had slept off the fumes of the night's debauch, I experienced a sentiment half of horror, half of remorse for the crime of which I had been guilty, but it was at best a feeble, equivocal feeling, and the soul remained untouchable. untouchable. I I again plunged into excess and soon drowned in wine all memory of the deed. In the meantime, the cat slowly recovered the socket of its lost eye, presented, it is true, a frightful appearance, but he no longer appeared to suffer any pain. He went about the house as usual, but as might be expected, fled in extreme terror at my approach. I had so much of my old heart as to be at first grieved by this incident, dislike on the part of the creature which had once so loved me. Not the finish.